Greetings everyone and welcome back to 365 Days of Prog. Today we're gonna be reviewing the album Song for America by Kansas.
Hi, my name's Naomi. I'm an avid progressive rock fan, but I'm a long ways from knowing all the prog albums out there. But this year, I'm gonna give it a try. This is 365 Days of Prog.
So let's get right into this. My favorite bits of this album are as follows, so enjoy them and then we'll talk about this album. By the way, did I mention I still have coronavirus? Okay, I just do. I thought I should let you know. So anyway, this is the first Kansas album we have on this list. Now, as you might know, most of the albums on this list are recommendations given to me by other people about albums that I should get to know and hear. But specifically, I did not receive a single Kansas album as a recommendation. I actually chose them myself because I thought that I wanted to know the band better. So I kinda nitpicked some Kansas albums from here and there, and this is one of them, being Song for America, Kansas's second album. This album was released 1 year and 2 albums before the album Leftoverture, which is probably their most known album and most, critically acclaimed album to date. I specifically love that album and I really love the way that Kansas sounds on it, and I was expecting and sort of comparing this album that we're listening to now to Leftoverture as a matter of understanding how good Kansas are and how refined their sound is in this second album. Now, unlike a lot of albums we've seen on this list so far, this album actually does feel like a second album. It has some understanding towards what the band is going for, yet it still experiments, it tries things, it doesn't have a very solid sound, because of course, a lot of bands don't really start off knowing exactly what they want to do with their music. You just, start off and you find your way what works with the people mostly later on. And this is a typical second album. Some songs here really stick, some others, well, maybe not so much. And this album features the all-star cast of Kansas, the same people that made Leftoverture and, if I'm not mistaken, Point of No Return. And the bandmates on here, they're all great, and they include the amazing vocalist and keyboardist Steve Walsh and the percussionist and drummer Phil Urt, which we both met on another album on this list, being Please Don't Touch by Stephen Hackett. One of the things I really like about this album is that it kind of has glimpses of the Kansas violin. Now, if you don't know what the Kansas violin is, it's basically their own unique sound. They use a violin, which is an instrument not usually found on rock music, let alone prog music. And I think that's kind of a miss because Kansas just does it so beautifully. They use an instrument which is mostly used in symphonic, arrangements in orchestras. They've put it into prog, they've put it into rock in such a fantastic manner, which just leads me to think, why do we not see it on more albums with more bands? And if you want to listen to an album that has a really good usage of violins on it, or at least I think one violin, you should really go and listen to Pampered Manual by Pavlov's Dog. It's a great and somewhat obscure album, and I think we have their second album on this list as well, but it will come later in the year. And overall, if you've never listened to this album yet, I would say go ahead and listen to it, but I'll also give you some advice to what you're gonna hear on it. So this album is Kansas trying to find their own style, their sound, their voice, whatever. They try different things, but when they do succeed, it really does sound like, the pride and true Kansas sound, and you got that Kansas sound on 2 specific tracks, being Song for America, the title track, and another one called, I think, In Comadro, Hymn to the Atman, which is an odd title, but both songs, they're really long pieces and they have that really Kansas-y sound on it. They're really diverse, they change a lot of motives in them, and they're really interesting and intriguing sound, which really feel like they've been taken off of Leftoverture, for example. And yes, I'd have to say that my favorite track off this album would have to be the title track, Song for America. It is really memorable, it has some like really good parts on it, they're really fine and fun to listen to as a whole, and I personally found myself listening to this song more and more times since hearing this album for the first time. And yes, although the other songs on here are experimental and they sometimes can get a bit disinteresting, they are good songs. They're not what I wanted to hear on this album, but they are good. I think it's a good thing that Kansas actually went on and improved upon the sound that they did in songs like Song for America and did not go in the direction of the other tracks on this album, because honestly, they're not really proggy, they kind of diverge into other genres, and we would never have gotten the Kansas we all know and love today. So overall, this is a good album and really does show you the potential hidden within this band, and the fact that all the bandmates do a fantastic job on here is really a huge virtue that I really appreciate about this band. The fact that they put themselves into the music and everyone gets to shine is always lovely and always so fun. And I did not know that Kansas were a prog band like a few years ago. I admittedly listened to Kansas before I even told myself that I was into prog. I didn't really think about the fact that they were doing some things that were out of the norm of regular rock music. And I'm so glad I did listen to them, and I kind of grew up with some of their songs because they're a great band and I really wanted to get to know their discography more, and that's why we're doing this video today. But moving on to the cover of this album, this is an interesting cover. It is kind of bland, albeit I think it is a fine cover nonetheless. I sort of like the colors on it. I think there's some beauty to it. And it is the first Kansas cover to feature the Kansas logo on it, the really lovely logo, which I believe to be maybe the best prog band logo there is out there. So that's always fun to see. And of course you got the big eagle on it, and I guess that has to do something with America. Of course the eagle does look kind of sinister, kind of detached. It looks like overshadowing, somewhat reminds me of the, like, you know, big flying plane figure from The Wall. If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And I think it has some criticism to say about the US and the land of opportunities, but I do not know what that criticism might be, and I don't believe that this is a concept album. Maybe it is, maybe I'm getting everything wrong, but as a cover it is nice, but it's not more than that. But overall, if I had to rate this album, I'd give it an uneven 8 out of 10, because honestly some songs on here are just 10 out of 10 material and some songs on here are just mediocre 6s or 5s, so it gets the average. But honestly, I wouldn't really want to listen to this album as a whole. I have my certain parts of it which I find to be really good. But I suppose that's about it, everybody. So I hope that you enjoyed this one, and please stay tuned for tomorrow because we're going to be listening to Demons and Wizards by Uriah Heep. Now that's the first time I'm going to listen to Uriah Heep, so I am really excited for it. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful day. Maybe I'll be a little healthier tomorrow, who knows, maybe not. All in all, I'll catch you all tomorrow, guys. Bye.